Ken Jennings has been left stunned after a contestant took the lead during a recent game. During Monday night's Champions Wildcard Competition episode, the Jeopardy! Host welcomed previous winners Emma Salzberg, Donch Ollier, and Amal Dorai. This tournament is for wildcard players who are competing for a chance to get into the Tournament of Champions. The three contestants were competing to advance to the semi-finals. Emma had a slow start but took the lead with $15,000 by the end of the 2 rounds. Donch wasn't far behind with $12,600, and Amal was in third place with $11,200. It all came down to Final Jeopardy, with the category being 20th century literature. The question was, Thomas Pynchon wrote that this novelist, in 1948, understood that despite the Axis defeat, fascism had not gone away. Amal got the answer correct, which was George Orwell. He added $11,200 to his winnings and ended the game with $22,400. Donch unfortunately got the answer incorrect and lost everything. Emma shocked herself, the audience, and Ken as she wagered just enough money to win the round. She ended the game with $25,201 and will be the final contestant moving on to the semi-finals of the competition. After fans viewed the game, one considered it to be one of the best games of the season so far. However, not all fans are thrilled about the competition. Please stop. After viewing Friday night's game, fans shared their honest opinions about the competition. Jeopardy! Shared a post to their Instagram on Friday telling fans to tune in to the finals. During the episode, Gary Hollis, Carmela Chan, and John Spurnay faced off against each other, with John taking home the prize. In the pic, host Ken smiles front and center as contestants Gary, Carmela, and John's heads float behind him. So tired of these endless wild card games. Please stop, wrote one frustrated viewer. When is this crap gonna end? Asked another. A third asked, so tired of this Champions wildcard, when is it going to end already? A third asked. Really the worst tournament ever, said another. Finding a new host. After longtime host Alex Trebek died in 2020, Jeopardy! Scrambled to find a replacement for the iconic host. They eventually settled on co-hosts, Ken, 49, a former champion, and actress mayim Bialik. Mayim, 47, dropped out of hosting temporarily this year until the actors and writers' strikes were solved. However, Jeopardy! Continued on with Ken and multiple spin-offs. Ken has made Jeopardy about him, one person wrote in the comments section, referring to the ex-player in the spotlight in the new photo. So very true. I have watched Jeopardy since the beginning and I am thinking I am done with it. Ken is just not doing a good job. He is so self-absorbed, replied one viewer. I agree. Mayim needs to come back, said another. The energy in the studio was palpable as Ken Jennings, the host of Jeopardy! And the man with the most legendary run in the game show's history, took his position behind the podium. It was a momentous occasion, a game that had the makings of being the best of the season. The contestants had been trading blows throughout the night, with each round building more anticipation for the climax. Among the three competitors, Emma Salzberg stood out. A quiet yet confident academic from Boston, Emma had played the game with calculated precision, her steady rise through the ranks a testament to her deep knowledge and strategic mind. However, she was facing two equally formidable opponents, Martin Gleason, a software engineer from San Francisco, and Rachel Nguyen, a high school teacher from Austin. Both had proved themselves worthy adversaries, making the game a true battle of wits. As the first round began, it was clear this game was going to be intense. The categories were challenging, ranging from obscure Shakespearean quotes to advanced mathematics, and from the get-go, all three contestants displayed an impressive breadth of knowledge. Emma and Martin exchanged leads throughout the round, while Rachel, though slightly behind, remained within striking distance. Ken Jennings, always the calm and collected host, couldn't help but show a spark of excitement as the game progressed. "This is shaping up to be quite the game, folks," he remarked during a commercial break. "We're witnessing some incredible gameplay here." The double Jeopardy round only amplified the tension. The categories were even tougher, with world history and quantum physics sending shivers down the spines of viewers at home. Yet, Emma remained unfazed. She buzzed in with speed and accuracy, slowly but surely catching up to Martin, who had managed to build a small lead. Rachel, determined not to be left out, made a bold move during a daily double in the category Classic Literature. With a hefty wager, she correctly answered a tricky question about Charles Dickens, closing the gap between herself and the leaders. The studio audience erupted in applause, and even Ken couldn't hide his enthusiasm. "That was a gutsy move, Rachel," he said, nodding in approval. As the final few questions of Double Jeopardy played out, the scores were remarkably close. Martin held on to his lead with $18,000, Emma was close behind with $16,800, and Rachel wasn't far off with $14,600. The stage was set for a nail-biting final Jeopardy round, and the atmosphere in the studio was electric. Ken Jennings stepped forward, his voice steady but with an unmistakable undertone of excitement. "And now, it all comes down to this, Final Jeopardy! The category is Famous Philosophers." The contestants' faces were unreadable, their minds racing as they considered their wagers. It was a tricky category, one that could easily sway the outcome in anyone's favor. As the iconic Jeopardy theme played, the contestants scribbled down their answers. The tension in the studio was thick, and the audience watched in hushed anticipation. Emma, who had been so composed throughout the game, looked up from her podium with a slight smile, her eyes betraying a glimmer of hope. Ken turned to Martin first. "Martin, you were in the lead with $18,000. Let's see what your response was." Martin's answer, "Who is Immanuel Kant?" was correct. "And how much did you wager?" Ken continued. Martin had bet conservatively, adding $6,000 to his total for a final score of $24,000. The applause was loud, but it was clear that the game was far from over. "Rachel, you had $14,600, Ken said, turning to her next. "What did you come up with?" Rachel's response, "Who is Jean-Paul Sartre?" was also correct. She had wagered $10,000, bringing her total to $24,600 and momentarily taking the lead. The crowd cheered, recognizing the boldness of her move. Finally, it was Emma's turn. Ken paused for effect, the tension in the room reaching its peak. "Emma, you had $16,800. Your response?"